Hi everyone, I'm Akshat and today we're going to talk about agents and skills and how do they differ in Claude Code. And this is something that nobody's talking about because very simply it's not a topic that actually matters when you're creating hype, but when you are someone who actually wants to understand how can Claude Code perform in the best way possible. So let's get started and talk about it. We're going to cover what are the differences between agents and skills, when to use what, like when does it make sense to use an agent actually, and when does it make sense to use a skill. And simply the most important part, how to use them all together very effectively. I'm going to show this with you examples, but let's talk about the differences between them. Now, very simply, if you look at agents and skills, kind of cover very different logics, but from a mental model perspective, very simply, agents do everything on their own. So very simply, if you're trying to use an agent, the goal would be very simply that everything happens automatically. Let's take this from an example. Very simply, let's say you employ someone to kind of collect meeting notes, right? And their job is pretty much same. Like they collect the notes and send them to you. And more or less these notes stay the same. Like, for example, what happened in the meeting, what are the action items, what are some things that you need to do after the meeting is done, and what are some things others need to do. And more or less, they don't require a lot of input from you. Because very simply, like, again, you just take them into a meeting, they collect notes and they send them to you, and that's pretty much the job. Now, what do you think this is a good job for? Well, if your answer is agents, you are right. Now, this is a great task for the agent because very simply they kind of run independently. That's when I think about an agent, not an agent that you are using. An agent that runs independently is a great task for this. Let's change the task now a bit. Let's say you hire someone to collect meeting notes and also send a presentation about it. But very simply, they just don't need to send a presentation to you. They're going to send presentation to other people. And that means you need to review it. And that also means that, like, there is some information required from your side. Like, you need to give it inputs, we need to kind of tweak it and all of those things. And also that the audience of this will change accordingly. So if you are sending to finance team, it will be different. And if you're sending to someone else, it will be different. And that's where exactly we need to use skills, because skills are something that you can use. So you can technically create the presentation yourself where the input is required from you, and you can give it information about how things are changing, because this makes sense, right? This is something that you have to be involved in, and that's when you need to use skills. But again, if it is something that you don't need to be involved in, an independent agent can do this. And here is a quick example to show this side by side. On the left hand side, you see that there is input required from you, there is information required from you, and there is information that keeps changing, and skills are perfect for that. But when you look at agents, this is something that, again, stays the same, can run independently, and does not need incremental input from you all the time. What does that mean? That you can keep updating the agent, but if it needs to run independently, it should have minimum input from you so that it can keep doing its job. Or it should be able to collect input from somewhere outside. All the skill side, very simply, this is something that you can work with together to make sure that you are using it in the best format. Let me clarify this point by showing you an actual real life example. So if you see here, this is my actual project that kind of is something that I'm building to have all different kind of agents and skills in a single place. The one thing that I've started recently with is kind of helping me to improve on YouTube. And you can see on the left hand side, I have multiple different skills available, and they're all listed under the project skills. So just to show you an example, I'm going to use the generate title skills to kind of create a skill. So let me give this input where it kind of takes the generate title skill to create title for this particular video topic that I'm creating. And it will now make sense because the point is this skill will always need an input of the topic that I'm creating videos on. So if it does not have that input, the skill is can't make a decision by itself. It can't, like, figure out what I'm going to create a video about, because simply that's something that I am doing. Now, if you think about it, this skill makes a lot of sense because this skill can only work based on the topic of the video that I want to create. It can't work independently. It can't work without my input. And that is the idea that you need to keep in mind. That every time you're using and creating a skill, you're kind of expecting that you will have to give it some level of input to actually make it work in the best way. Now, as you can see very simply, here are the titles that have come up, and it has gone through all the steps that I need based on the topic I gave it. It went through data signals, it created titles, and also has different kind of titles, because there are titles that you will click on if you're watching this video, when you're browsing this and when you're searching this. And that's the idea, that this skill makes sense only when I'm using it with my topic. But there is another agent that you can see here, an agent that I have created called YouTube Growth Agent. And the reason that agent exists is because now this is something that I need to run automatically. This is something I need it to work flawlessly all the time. And every week I need a report from everything that I'm doing. So for that, I can just simply say, start a new agent, run the YouTube growth agent, and get me a report for this week. And I can simply start by saying, run the YouTube growth agent and get me a report for this week. And it will automatically run a very detailed report that I can use to improve my YouTube content and everything else. But if you think about this, this is something that does not need my input. This is going to go ahead and look at competitors, look at other videos that are going on and everything else and bring a report back to me. Just to show you an example, this is how the report actually looks like. And here is an example of what this report will look like. And you can see there are the kind of content that I have posted and how it is improving. So if you're following along, do subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of videos on Claude Code, and you can see what's performing well and what's not. And then you have what is performing well for other people in the industry. So you have different videos coming in and what's working for them. And then out of that, I also get trend signals, which is from Google Trends that bring out here. And I can look at, okay, what are the signals that are actually coming? Because a lot of people find my videos through search rather than browse. So I need to make sure that the titles and browse and the thumbnails are accordingly. And I get this report. Now this report kind of runs independently because it does not matter whatever my input is, it can run without my input. It's just a weekly report, has all the information that I've created, and I have packaged that as an agent. So an agent knows that I need a weekly report with all of these things. I can keep running and I can keep adding to this agent more things as I want the report to improve. And that's the idea. And I hope you get the gist here. Agents completely work independently and there is no need of an input from me on most of the bases, except I need a report, and that's pretty much it, all I need to tell. And skills, on the other hand, kind of help me do my work better when I give them the topic that I want, and instead of kind of re-prompting them with multiple things, I just get the right value out of it. But I did not want to leave you without a visual input. Think about agents in this format. For example, as soon as I give the YouTube weekly agent, it will automatically go ahead and check all the skills that it has access to, load them up, kind of use in them in the best way possible, and finally deliver a file to me. So very simply, skills are what tells you what to do and how to do it. An agent tells when and where to do it. A very simple model, but you can keep that in mind that agents can use skills automatically without your inputs and can get you a final output. And skills, on the other hand, can use your input and work with you to improve the output that you create. So now you understand how agents work, you understand what's the difference, and this is the last part of it. Instruction. Skills are just instructions. They can tell you to how to do something. And anything else, and the easiest way to think about it is very simply this. Skills are instructions on how to do something. Agents, on the other hand, know what they need to do, have the know-how, have the skills, so they can have access to skills and go ahead and execute them for you. If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button, please. You don't know how much it helps and how much it helps me grow the channel. And at the same time, if you're someone who's interested to learn more about AI, hit the link in the description to learn more about the community and how we can help you become not only an expert at Claude Code, but also implement real life AI systems in the way that makes sense and scale. With that, I would just like to say thank you so much for watching, and I would love to see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.